Hello and welcome to Chow and Tell. My name is Reina and I am so excited about our episode today. I have a very special guest in the studio with me. But before that, I will tell you a little backstory of how I met this person. So last year, I was having a pretty rough time emotionally, health-wise, just settling in and recovering from some health issues. And I'm laid up in bed, sitting around, new to town, not knowing what to do with myself. And a very wise woman suggested to me that I should make myself available to be of service and do something useful for somebody else. It was a great suggestion, and when I could finally get up and out again, I was up and around Central Square, and very often I would see this white truck. And this truck had written on the side, it had food for free written on it, and I was automatically drawn to this very iconic truck. I had no idea what it was or what they did or whether they were going to feed me lunch. But I remembered it. It just stuck in my head as a truck that I wanted to find out more about. So when it came time for me to get off my butt and do something for somebody else, I don't know why I was really compelled to look up food for free on the internet, and I came across this wonderful organization that is called Food for Free and does some incredible work, and we'll talk more about that in this show. And it turns out they were just down the street from where I lived in Central Square, and they were looking for volunteers. So all of these sort of magical things conspired to land me up at their doorstep. I wrote to them and I said, hey, I can do these few things, I can help out, tell me what I can do for you guys. And they wrote back, which is always very exciting when someone writes back. So they wrote back, I went in, I met them. This was probably last September. And I've been going there pretty regularly since. I have met some incredible people, and they just have really changed my perspective on a lot of things and have opened a lot of doors in real life and in my mind also. So without further ado, please welcome the Executive Director of Food for Free, Sasha Purpura. Thank you for joining me, Sasha. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Reina, and that was such a great introduction.
Yeah, it was just such a fabulous story. I mean, that truck has, I think it's done a lot of
It's
wonderful
brought us
things.
a lot of friends and supporters, so we really appreciate it. Yeah.
Is there one truck?
There's two trucks.
There's two trucks.
Yes, and they both say food for free on the side, and they have a very interesting quote on the back, but one's much bigger than the other.
Maybe I saw, I don't know, I think I
Maybe
may
you
have
saw
seen
them
both.
both, yeah.
Because they seem to be everywhere. Like everywhere I turned, there was this truck, and they do more than free lunch. So I'm gonna let Sasha tell me a little bit more about how you guys came to be Food for Free and what you do.
Sure. I mean, let me just start by saying that one of our drivers makes sure that he always has some bars or fruit in the truck, because people see the truck and say, food for free, I want some. So he'll toss them an apple or...
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for fun.
That's
so
great.
Food for Free has been around since 1981, long before I got there. So when I praise this organization, I'm not taking credit for it. I'm honored to be a part of it. It started in Cambridge in 81, and it was really just people in the neighborhood that saw these supermarkets throwing out really perfectly good food, things that you and I would take home. And at the same time, they saw a lot of people within the city of Cambridge that were not getting enough to eat. And so they borrowed a van, and they started driving around to the stores and picking up that food and then bringing it to the people who needed it. It's developed over the last 30 plus years. We have two trucks now. We move about 1 million pounds a year through our produce rescue and delivery.
Wait, how many?
1 million pounds. That's a lot of elephants. Yeah.
1 million pounds of food. So you're basically taking food that's going to be thrown away, but it's not garbage. It's perfectly edible food.
Yeah, and that's a really, really important part. So if you think about Whole Foods, for example, people expect to go into a supermarket, especially one like Whole Foods that charges higher prices, and they want to see a shelf full of lettuce. They don't want to see the last lettuce. And if they buy that lettuce, they want it to last a week. They don't want it to last 2 or 3 days. But if that lettuce, is still going to last 2 or 3 days, I'd eat it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great lettuce.
Yeah.
And Whole Foods doesn't want to throw it away, but they can't sell it because people are paying top dollar for it. And if it goes bad in a day or two, we get to take it to a food pantry or a shelter or a youth program or all sorts of agencies and people that are reaching out to other people. And they're going to take it home or serve it in a meal within 24 hours.
Okay. So it's basically, and I know your tagline is bridging the gap between waste and want, and I love that.
Michelle came up with that.
The copywriter. Oh, really?
Yeah.
The copywriter in me was like, oh, these guys are clever. They're clever. Waste and want, and bridging the gap. It's just, it's perfect.
If you think about it, and what I love so much about Food for Free is we take this problem that is food waste, because it's insane. It's beautiful, beautiful food getting thrown out, and that's a problem for the environment. It's a cost waste, and that problem all of a sudden is this incredible solution for people who can't afford fresh vegetables, which is an important aspect of this, by the way. It's not just any food.
So I want to talk about that too, because there are different kinds of, there's similar organizations that are basically, there's food pantries, there's ways for hungry people to get food, but not all food is created equal. And I know that a big part of Food for Free's mission is getting nutritionally rich food to people in need.
Right.
So talk about that a bit.
I do, and I think one thing that people don't necessarily understand in this country is hunger and obesity often go hand in hand. And so people will see someone who is clearly obese and say, how could they possibly be hungry?
Right.
And so hunger's been a misleading term here. It is a lack of access to nutrition. So cheap calories in this country are easy to come by.
Right.
McDonald's or, corn syrup, sugary stuff. It's calories and it will make you obese, but there's no nutritional value. So whereas somebody in another country, hunger is more, I can't get any food. Here, they can get food, but the food they can afford is really unhealthy and really, there's no nutrition. So it's same, you have diabetes, you have a lot of diet-related disease. So what we're talking about at Food for Free, historically, or at least in the last many years, of that 1 million pounds that we distributed, 70% of that is fresh produce. So that's fruits and vegetables.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
typically you go into a food pantry, and because of storage capacity issues, because of transportation issues, they can keep the canned stuff.
Right.
But they can't deal with the fresh stuff because you need to get it then. If you don't have a cooler, you got to give it right away. Food for Free makes it so we can pick it up, drop it off right before the pantry opens. This fresh stuff can go out on the tables, and then people can take it home.
So I mean, the more I've been involved with you guys, the more I'm sort of I get pieces of information. I do mostly stuff in the office and around events and fundraising. But I also know that
we gotta get you on a truck.
I want to get on the truck.
We'll get you on a truck.
Oh my God, we're gonna film that. I want to show everyone riding on the truck. That would be really, really fun.
We can easily get you on the truck.
Oh my God. I know you drive the truck. I mean, you do pretty much everything, like from here to here. Like I remember I was in a couple of weeks ago and you were just running like crazy, and Sasha was like, I want to run and taking the truck, and I got to drive the truck, and she's running this place and driving the truck, but I love that. I love that about the place, that everyone will pitch in to do everything. It's such a great group of people. I've been involved in a couple of really fun events, and
you've been fantastic, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're one of our favorites.
Oh,
don't tell anybody.
I really enjoy it, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but actually when I was in college, I think it was my freshman year, or probably my freshman year, because I'd come over from India and I was in college in upstate New York, and I was appalled at the amount of food that we were served. And the amount that was wasted, and the portion sizes were gargantuan.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of food. A lot of it was really sugary, high salt, high fat, high sugar food, which, by the way, like it's a cycle. It's like an addictive cycle.
Oh yeah.
And there's a reason freshmen put on not the 15 but the 50 pounds, I think. And it's unlimited quantities. It's like putting kids in a candy store. We have no idea how to stop. And then, or we would just take a bunch of stuff and then get full, and then it would get thrown out. So I remember going to my student union, to the dining services, in fact, and saying, why is all this food being thrown out? And they didn't have an answer. This is some years ago, a little while ago. But we didn't have a local food for free of our own there at that time. And I remember there was one other guy, like one undergraduate guy, and they were like, "You guys should talk." And we drove around a bit, like he had a car.
You were eating food for free?
I was like,
that's
food
excellent.
for free. And I hadn't thought about that in so long. And when I saw the trucks, I was like, I used to do this. This has always been a concern of mine. And coming back to the US, it just sort of, it re-sparked that memory.
Wow.
And it's like, there are people doing this in a much more organized way, because here it's like, it's a problem of communication and transportation in a way.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. Communication and transportation are big pieces. There's logistics involved.
Right.
Right. So there's times of day. A supermarket's in the business to make money, and it needs to in order to keep running the supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
So there's time associated with, we have this food. We're not going to have a large expense in trying to bring it to the right place. I mean, they just need to deal with it, and they want to do the right thing if it's simple and easy. So that's one piece, is just coordination and time.
Mm-hmm.
Then we delivered to like almost 90 organizations, and
Oh, wow.
you've been seeing me run around. I'm in the process of hiring an operations manager, which is going to be fantastic. But the time I spend coordinating, where does that food go? So all of a sudden, Whole Foods starts donating their hot bars. So there's, they have the salad bars, and they have the hot food out.
Like with the prepared
foods. They didn't used to do that. They didn't really understand the health requirements to making sure that they could donate that. They wanted to, but an organization came in and showed them. But so all of a sudden, we're picking up all this frozen hot bar. And you can't give that to a food pantry. You can't send somebody home with a huge bag of frozen, curry. I don't know. I mean, maybe you could, but... Yeah. So, but meal programs love that, or shelters love that. Okay. So it's sort of, you have to call around to all these different agencies, understand who can take it, and then time-wise, if we pick that stuff up at noon and it's frozen, we can't drive it around in the truck all day.
Wow.
Unless the truck's refrigerated, which only one is. So you need to make sure there are people available to. So there is that challenge. The other challenge, which I just kind of mentioned with Whole Foods, is prepared foods are different.
Yeah.
It's very easy to donate lettuce or tomatoes or canned goods, but prepared foods, there are health issues, right? They have to freeze it in a certain amount of time. There's a lot of, and I don't pretend to know the ins and outs of that, but it prevents a lot of organizations from doing that.
Now I know there's legal issues around that. In fact, I know this happened back in India. There was a very, a well-known caterer, and they do a lot of big events and parties and stuff, and there's always food left over. Like the big Indian weddings have tons of food and tons of food left over. And I remember there was an incident many years ago where, so these caterers will donate the food. Usually there's homeless people and street dwellers, and it's not organized the way it is here with shelters and food pantries or anything.
Right.
So they would just directly donate the food that's left. And what happened once was that some food that it was a milk product, it was a sweet made of milk, and it had to be refrigerated, and I was taken home, kept overnight unrefrigerated by somebody living in a hut that didn't have refrigeration, and then a bunch of people got sick. And then the caterer got a bad name, and his business sort of faltered, and here it's different because I know there's legal ramifications to stores directly giving food away to, like, if I just showed up at their back door.
Well, one thing that makes food for free possible here in Massachusetts, and there are some other states, but it's not all of them, is we have something called the Good Samaritan Law.
Okay.
And that protects organizations and from any liability associated with donating food, assuming there's not negligence or intentional harm.
Right.
So
okay, I didn't know
without that, and so a quick story, you had mentioned the university. I met with Harvard a few weeks ago, because Harvard, this organization that trained Whole Foods to donate their hot bar, knows how to help folks deal with that stuff safely and in a helpful manner. Okay. So I had brought them into Harvard University, who's interested from the dining services standpoint in donating food. And as we talked, several of the people at Harvard sat around the table and said, we can't do that because of here's the different health regulations. And the man I had brought in very credibly and with a lot of detail explained why they could and how they could, and Harvard ran it through their health department, and starting in June we're going to start piloting one of their dining halls, and they're so excited to do it, and we're so excited to do it.
Oh my God, I have goosebumps now. I'm so excited. It feels like this was literally almost 20 years ago that this happened to me.
Now we know.
And now we know that it's possible,
Yeah.
and there's a way for them to do it, and that means there's just that much less food getting thrown out, and that many more hungry mouths that have access to much better food than the crap in the fast food stores.
Absolutely. But there's still challenges. I just had lunch with somebody from MIT, and and I talked to them about Harvard, and they're absolutely interested, but we both sort of acknowledged we're going to have to ramp up to this, because the logistics on the other side of that, of food for free, figuring out where do we take this food, who can get it. I'm sure we can figure this out, but we can't just implement this overnight, which is funny, right? Because the food is getting thrown away every night, but there is realities to transporting that, to making sure people can take it, because you don't want to give people a bunch of food so that they have to throw it out, right? But we're going to make it happen.
You're going to make it happen.
We're gonna make it happen.
This is Wonder Woman here. I mean, we're just so excited.
Only because Raina comes and helps, and we have such a fantastic team.
This is just the love fest.
And she made me a TV star.
That's right. This is really what this is all about, you know. I wanted to actually, so the other thing that was surprising for me, because I helped you guys out with a recent event, which was really fun. I want to talk about that for a bit. So when was it? Like about a month
It was in
ago?
April. Oh, no, wait, it was in April. April 12th.
Yeah.
April 12th.
And so they did a fundraising event, because that's a big piece of a nonprofit.
Yes, we can only do what we're doing because individuals, businesses, grants say, this matters to us too. We will help give you the resources, because we're not getting paid by the food pantries or
So the supermarkets aren't paying
no,
you.
nobody's paying us, so it's the community that's paying us. They're saying this matters to us too. We're going to contribute. But
so
anyway.
So I mean that's an important point.
That's very
I did want to talk about that, because so as part of those fundraising efforts, these guys put on a great party. There's always good food and a really
That's the most important part.
Which is why we how can I not love food for free? There's always good food, and this was a really interesting event. It was at the Mudflat Gallery.
Mudflat Pottery Studio.
Mudflat Pottery Studio, which is over in I think Somerville.
It's in
Somerville.
On Broadway.
Beautiful new space. That space is so gorgeous. It's a huge, I think it's an old theater.
Yes.
With high ceilings, and it's just got amazing light, and it's turned into a pottery studio now, and they partnered with Food for Free to do what they call the Empty Bowls event, and I just thought it was so fantastic that I think people who came through the studio, who are members of the studio and are potters or students of pottery, made a bunch of bowls.
500.
500?
They made 500 bowls to donate.
And did they make them for the event?
Absolutely. And I have to say, it's my aunt Lynn who runs, she's the executive director of Mudflat, and they had approached us about this idea, and she said that her potters absolutely loved making 500 bowls to donate, for this cause.
And it's such a great, I just thought the symbolism was so fantastic too, because the empty bowl symbol of, even in India, begging for alms, which actually when people come asking for alms, it's a very auspicious thing to feed the hungry or the saintly. Mm-hmm. So it's an auspicious thing, and the symbol of that is the empty bowl.
Right. So Empty Bowl is a national movement. I mean, there's Empty Bowl, you can Google it, and they take place everywhere.
Oh, right.
And the idea is that, you have that empty bowl, and just so people know, what we did at this event was people contributed $15, and they got to pick any of these gorgeous bowls to take home and keep. And you don't buy a beautiful handmade bowl for $15. And we had a bunch of wonderful restaurants that donated soup. And so you came to this event, you paid your $15, you selected a beautiful bowl, and we filled it up with, you got a scoop each time, but you could keep going back for more. And you tried all these different soups.
Oh, they were so good. They were
They were
5
really
or 6
good
or 8
soups.
different
there
soups.
were so many different soups. You probably didn't even try them all.
No.
And we almost ran out, or we were worried we were going to. And then you take the bowl home to remind you of all the empty bowls in the community.
It was so great. I really liked it. And I want to show you my bowl, because this is Chow and Tell, and we get to show something. So I will show you my bowl that I got. And this is the one I picked. It's green, and it had this really interesting design. I think I talked to a friend who was a potter. This is the inside. You can see it there. And she said they cut slits in it and probably put it over a mold and then like made a circle and then put the slit. So I don't know. It was just, I like the shape. It was kind of unusual. And so this is my bowl, and I use this a lot. And anyone else that uses it hears it from me because nobody gets to use. I'm very protective about my bowl. I'll just say that. Like it's very special.
Well, we're gonna do this every year, so you can get one for everybody in the family. Yeah,
that's awesome. I want to see. Can we see your bowls?
So first, I'll just show you. I ended up buying 2 more extra bowls. So I got 2 of these, and this is a sort of a simpler bowl. I got 2 that look pretty much like this, and they're gonna be great for serving things. So I'll just make spinach, and I won't have, when you cook spinach, it cooks down, and it doesn't take up a lot of room. So these were this perfect size for just sort of a side. But then I wanted a bowl for me, like Raina's bowl, and I'm in love with this bowl. So it's a smaller bowl, and I don't know how well you can see the design, but it's sort of, I don't know.
Oh, here we can try actually doing it.
Oh, and there, yeah, do, because I love that. This is a fantastic bowl.
Let's show people this bowl. Okay. See if you can see that here.
You can see it. Yep, now turn it.
Now turn it.
See, the colors are just incredible.
Oh, that's a nice bowl.
Yeah, and it's the top isn't totally smooth, right?
Oh,
so I have no idea who made it, but it's just does it say anything on the bottom?
No, I don't think any, well.
Some of them have an empty bowl symbol. That's the empty bowl symbol.
Oh, is it?
Maybe. Oh yeah, I think it is. That may be.
That little thing there, I don't know if you can see that camera. Oh, that is so nice. That is so great. I love it. However, you cannot be here with an empty bowl. So, and this is chow and tell. We've done some telling, but we want to do some chowing. So I have for us here a little taste. Squeak open my thermos flask here. And maybe it's still warm. I hope it is.
I'm sure it will be delicious regardless.
This is carrot, ginger, and coconut soup.
Oh, that sounds so good. I'm so excited.
There's spoons there.
Make me a TV star and feed me, and I'm happy.
We get to eat on TV. It's so great.
So it smells delicious.
It has some curry and ginger.
That smells so good.
You could smell it.
I did hear they were going to make TVs or movies or something that
really
did something with scent. Yeah, I don't know if I like that idea.
I don't know. That is kind of weird, but it would be kind of
It wouldn't
cool.
be the real. I mean, we couldn't send this through, but
like that would be like. Have you seen Willy Wonka?
Yeah.
Where they do that and you can get through the TV.
Yeah.
It's like, here you can have the soup.
I mean, I like eating on TV. I don't know if I'd want to watch and not get to eat.
I had a guest here who was just so shocked. He's like, we get to eat on TV? I was like, yes, of course you get to eat. Is it good?
This is so good.
Can I just tell you about the soup for a second?
Please. But
this took
much like yours is soupy.
Oh,
mine's thick.
you know what?
Do you want some thickness?
Yeah, give me some thickness. I think I didn't mix it.
You didn't mix it.
I didn't mix it.
And give me a little bit of
we'll
liquid.
do this. Oh, I love this. This is so nice. We share. Here.
As we pour soup all over the equipment.
Oops.
Thank you.
They won't mind. Okay. So I made this in my Vitamix. So it's actually raw. It's not been heated above unraw temperature. Carrot, a little bit of broth, coconut milk, ginger, some curry powder, and salt, and a little bit of lime.
This is delicious.
And it just whirred. It just whirred for maybe 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, and the heat of the motor is what slowly heats it through. Just the action of.
Oh, really?
Yes, this has not been on the stove at all, and it's still warm. I did this about an hour
it's
ago.
warm. You're kidding me.
No.
What did you whir it in?
In my Vitamix.
Really?
A Vitamix, which is just, I got it as a gift. It's an expensive blender, but it's like a fancy blender with the engine of a small plane.
I have to see with the liquid because
Yeah.
it's still very different textures.
Yeah. I should have shook it before. We'll shake it up after the show and we'll eat some more. We just do the tasting on the show, but we do all the eating afterwards. Yum. Oh, I have these here that I wanted to show real quick. So, before I switch to this, and we can keep eating, of course. I just found it really strange that, you know, when you think of the United States, you don't think about hunger. I didn't, anyways. Maybe people do. But I remember I had some friends in college, and they say, "Oh, you're from India. That's where we were told people were always starving, and if we didn't eat our food, like, eat your food." The starving children in India and the starving children in Africa, and we have a lot of starving people. But I just never thought that they would also be here, like friends and neighbors, like people right around here where we live, in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
A lot of them.
That just blew my mind. I did not expect that.
A lot of hungry people, a lot of hungry children. I mean, the cost of living in Cambridge is very high, and poverty rates. And I think some people may think, well, if you can't afford to live here, don't live here. But it's not that simple. People have always lived here, and this is their home, and where are they going to go? And so even with subsidized housing and other things, I mean, the poverty, I'm never good with exact numbers, but they give you a poverty number for Cambridge, which maybe is 11%. There's 110 or 107,000 people in Cambridge. If you're 200% of poverty level, people will still agree you're incredibly poor in Cambridge. You cannot afford, and food, you're going to make decisions with the dollars. You have to pay the rent. You want to keep the lights on. You have children. And to really think, and this is everywhere. This is right in Central Square. It's all over this neighborhood.
That's crazy.
And this is real. I mean,
that's crazy. I want to show some numbers. I mean,
please.
I can't, let's see. Here's one. 40% of food in the U.S. is wasted. But they rescued 600,000 pounds of food.
It was actually 720,000
Oh
last
my goodness.
year.
Well, sorry.
Who made that sign?
That is amazing. And 10% of the total food supply is lost in retail. There's a few more of these that are really just very compelling. And I want to, I'll put them up because we have a little bit of time left. So I don't want to take it all up, but I'll put these up on the website if I can.
Please.
I really want to share those numbers with you guys because
it's real.
Crazy and real. So in the few seconds we have left, I just want to thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you
for sharing soup with me in the afternoon.
Thank you for making soup for me.
And you can find more about what Sasha and her amazing crew of awesome people do at www.foodforfree.org. You can find this episode, recipes for the soup, and other stories on my website, www.kitchen-intuition.com. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Chow and Tell. See you next week.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Raina.
Sasha.
That was really great.
That was awesome.